Rudy A Blends back with another haircut tutorial. Now in this haircut tutorial I am doing the famous crop top. And on this crop top, this I feel like it tends to be the most difficult hairstyle that you can do, but it's pretty trending right now. I feel like everybody's kind of doing it at the moment, especially YouTubers. This crop top tends to leave a lot of weight and a lot of bulk, just like I have right here. I didn't really like this bulk stuff, but man, it actually came with me, you know what I'm saying? I'm starting to look fresh now with the weight. So it's gonna be kind of like a little bit like this, but a little bit more bulk. And how do you make a nice smooth fade and try to keep the bulk? I'm gonna show you how. Stay tuned. Rudy A Blends back with another haircut tutorial. Now in this haircut tutorial, we are gonna be doing I want to say like a mid-drop fade. You know what I mean? I want to say like a mid-drop fade. And the difference between a mid-drop fade and like a low fade, the low fade's basically all around, but the mid-drop fade, you basically start from, I guess on the sides, you start a little bit higher than the low fade, and then you go drop back down, kind of as an exaggerating motion type stuff. An exaggerating fade that's pretty low from the back. Now, he had, the last time I cut his hair was about 2 months ago, so I was pretty afraid of going a little bit too high for his liking, because this typical haircut and hairstyle that I'm doing is going to be a crop top. So on the crop top, this is the ones that they call the chili bowls, you know what I mean? This one's the messy haircut look type of stuff, but also it's going to be kind of like we're going to leave a lot of bulk on the sides. A lot of bulk is going to be left on the sides, and that's going to be normal. And I remember, at least for me, when I was first starting to do crop tops, I was trying to make it too perfect with the blend. That with the blend, it can be perfect, but above when it starts to darken out, I was trying to make that part a little bit too perfect, and that part tends to be where you leave the bulk alone. So when I was first trying to get this hairstyle and his haircut done, it was hard for me to stop the fade, because you also have to leave a lot of bulk, of course, like I said before, but you have to try to do the fade as kind of as tight as possible. So it's gonna be like a mid fade, but it's gonna be a mid tight fade kind of style of way. Now right now I am doing the bald line, and they always say there's different people type of variations that they say the mid fades tend to start above the ear, on top of the peak of the ear, low fades below the ear, high fades by the eyebrows. Sometimes that doesn't really add up, because everybody's facial features are pretty different. Some people might have, a long head and their eyebrows are like very towards their ears, especially never mind, I'm not gonna say who the type of culture, but it's, everybody has a type of that, everybody just different from their perspective, and so you know what I'm saying. So don't actually go by that, you actually got to go by the client's head shape. And right now I'm doing the bald right now I'm doing the shavers, and I'm doing a flick out motion. Now as you can see here, it looks like I'm using the whole thing, but I'm using the corners. Now, to make this more clean, this is the step that you actually need to do. Now, a lot of people tend to use this on everybody, and that's a big no-no. There's a lot of customers out there that they can't be too bald. They can't use this type of trimmer or shaver, and some barbers really don't care. But at the end of the day, if they come back to you and they like their hairstyle, their haircut, there's gonna be a lot of bumps in their head, and especially with African American males, they can't really go too bald, because they tend to bump up, and they tend to bump up pretty bad and pretty nasty, that sometimes after that you can't go back. They have to go to a dermatologist, something like that, and to fix it up. And that's something you want to try to avoid. But right now, my first guideline, I am using the number 1 guard all the way open. And for this, like I said, this is a different type of step. This is a little bit more of an advanced step. But this step for me works perfectly because it avoids for me to go up a little bit too high. It kind of stops me from going too high because I can't pass the number 1 guard, you know what I mean? So I feel like this is a perfect step, especially for those who like don't really have enough control of stopping the fade. But now afterwards, I'm gonna slap in the number 2 guard, and right now I'm actually trying to do a guideline. So I know at the first time you was like, you already used the 2, why are you using it again? Well, I used the 2s just specifically just to take out the bulk. That's it, just to take out the bulk so I can see, you know, at the back of his head if he has an occipital bone or if his bone pops out a lot or he has some bald spots that I need to know. And this is a perfect example why I use a number 2 guard, because his hair is very thin. It's not thick at all, it's very thin. So if I would have done straight up with the ball line and then like a number 1 guard, right there, this number 1 guard tends to look a little bit shorter than what it really is. When I use number 1 guards on other people, especially on myself, it looks pretty darker. It doesn't really look as light as this. You know what I mean? So you want to actually read the client, read the customer's hair, you know, and try to analyze as best as possible. Now you might be asking, like, why are you using the comb? You know what I mean? So this is a pretty cool technique that I learned throughout the experience. So when you put the hair down, you kind of force it to cut with the number 2 guard, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? It avoids you going a little bit too high. So that's another technique that I like to use. And right now we're going to be doing a down fade. So on this down fade, I am using the half guard with the lever slightly open. Now I am using just the corners, and I'm going around, and I'm going all the way below the number 1 guard. That's my guideline. The only guidelines that I did right now was the number 1 open and the 2 guard open. That's all I did right now. Now on these type of, I guess, fades, you want to say, like compressed fades, I don't use a number 3 guard or number 4 guard, stuff like that. I feel like that kind of scares me a little bit in a way of sense to stopping the fade. So what I like to do is really clipper over comb after this. You know what I mean? I like to clipper over comb. That's my personal preference, how I like to use it. As you can see, the half guard is really, it looks, to me personally, it looks like, you know, I have no guard on, have no guard, and with the lever halfway. That's how, you know, thin his hair is, but that's pretty normal, you know. And now I'm using the 1.5 guard with the lever a little bit slightly open, and I'm just using the corners, and I'm going trying to above it, you know, above the 1 guard. So right here, a lot of people tend to use force to go up to cut hair, you know, to go up with the guidelines, so nice and smooth and fade. And to me, is like, I like to picture it as a knife. You have a knife on your hand. Why you want to go a little bit too hardcore? You know what I mean? Like, relax, you know, take a chill pill. At least for me, when I was starting to cut hair, I would grab your head so hard, and then on the clipper, I would dig in your hair. And sometimes I would blame the clipper. I would be like, man, it's not cutting. And so, you know, you always ran out to that one customer, be like, hey, you know, you're going a little bit too hard. You need to slow down, or you know, you're going, feel like you're cutting me. So I just picture the clipper as a knife. Go nice and smooth. I like most of my customers now they say I have a hand, a very like thin hand, very light hand, which is pretty funny. You know, they try to make fun of me, but I feel like, you know, it's good, you know, because they don't feel it, so it's pretty cool. But now I'm using the number 1 guard with the lever slightly open. So when I say slightly open, what I'm talking about is the lever between a notch between the lever all the way open and the lever halfway. So between there, in the middle of that, that's where I have a lever all the way out. That's where I have the lever mostly slightly open. Now on this one, I am using an exaggerating of the corners. So I'm trying just to use only one cutting tooth or one cutting blade, as you want to say. because I'm trying to avoid from going all the way too high. Now, as you can see, the blend from there is gonna be pretty nice and smooth. Now, this should be the easiest part of the whole entire fade, is taking the bottom line out. Now, if you can't take the bottom line out, that means you went them too deep, or you went up, or you have your trimmers too zero gapped. So the steps to take and blend this line out is between closed, halfway, and all the way open. Closed, halfway, and all the way open. As you can see right there, it's coming blending in. It's blending in pretty nice and smooth. Now, on some hair textures, as soon as you do these steps, boom, it tends to blend in nice and smooth. You know, detail work, it's probably a minimum. On his hair, I really thought that I wasn't gonna do detail work as much, but I actually had to do quite a few of detail work, because usually with thin hair, as soon as you have with the lever all the way closed, that's when, and you blend it in, that's when it tends to look like, oh, the fade's almost completed, because you know, it's thin hair. That's how it works. Personally, that's what I think. And because with thick hair, you have to tend to do a little bit more passes and try to do other techniques to go through it. This step, you definitely want to take your time. You don't want to rush it. Sometimes for me, when I'm rushing a lot of customers and haircuts, I tend to like go a little bit too high, and then I'm like, dang, I went up too high. But then I have to fix it. I mean, you can fix it, but the point is to, you know, cut on a specific time frame, you know, not cut too much time. Because I feel like I take quite a while. I feel like I take 45 minutes to cut hair. I can definitely do it faster, but I feel like the quality is really not there. And I mean, some people actually, you know, some people want that 15-minute haircut, but I try to stay from those type of clients, because those type of clients tend to be too unorganized sometimes, most of the time. But yeah, but moving forward, people ask me too, like, hey, how do you blend the beard? You know, the beard is actually the exact same thing, the exact same steps. Matter of fact, sometimes the beard should be a little bit easier to fade. When it's hard, that means they don't have enough hair. I know some customers tend to blame the barber, that say, hey, you know, this ain't right, you know, this is not thick enough. And you're just like, bro, you don't have hair. Like, what you want me to do, you know? Obviously, customer service comes to perspective, so all you have to do is apologize. But hey, most of the time they tend to blame the barber. You know, they'd be like, hey, I want it more thick, but you're just like, you know, you don't have enough hair. We can't do that. But that's when the enhancements come in. You can try to give them the illusion of it. But yeah. Now, as you can see here, I'm mostly just doing detail work. And I'm playing with the lever all the way closed and all the way open slightly, and with the half guard. Now with the half guard, as you can see, I'm exaggerating that corner. I'm literally trying to use that one piece of tooth that it is from the clipper, and that tends to avoid mess ups, in my personal opinion. Like, if you take your time, you're just using the corners, you tend to mess up less if you're just using the one notch. You know what I mean? Now, right here, I am using clipper over comb. This technique saves you a lot of time, and I'm just cutting the hair that's laying throughout the fade, because I want his haircut shape to be like flared out. This crop top shouldn't be a box shape. A crop top should be like a flared out shape, you know, kind of like a V shape. Not like straight like a box. Most haircuts are straight out the box, but when you talk about crop tops, it should be with a flatter out shape. Now, in my personal opinion, I feel like it's more easier if you have a thick, you know, I mean wide tooth, not a thick, a wide tooth comb. It tends to be more easier. Like the comb that I have right now is pretty wide, it's like a wide tooth comb. I feel like it's more easier to blend in. As you can see, that fade came out pretty clean, and it came out with that weight line nice and smooth. And as you can see right here, there's the messy look that tends to be on style right now. Right now it's pretty trending. To achieve this type of style, you gotta, I guess, stay away from gel and mostly try to get from paste or pomade. My name is Rudy A. Blends. Thanks for watching and God bless.